Hi, how's everyone doing? I'm going to talk about marketing and why I'm doing it wrong on Facebook. For first-time watchers of my videos, I've been an entrepreneur for about 8 months. No marketing background at all, but I'm into learning it all and sharing that information. I've made some postings on Facebook and about 80% of them were automatically declined and never saw the light of day. So that's a lot of potential customers and users that I've lost out on. Of course, Facebook posts are like great for outreach because it's like casting a wide net out into a group of like-minded people who are into your product niche. So then I thought making this video would be a great idea when I realized, having seen someone else's post copied and pasted onto several Facebook groups, I looked at it a little bit more and I thought this is a great approach. It plugged in an app that I've never heard of and it really made me wonder what I was doing wrong. I noticed there was a stark difference between my post and theirs. Firstly, it wasn't automatically deleted in each of the Facebook groups. And secondly, it garnered likes, it garnered engagement in each of these communities. So in order to understand why, I'm going to show you a comparison of my posts versus theirs. So this is an example of one of my early posts on Facebook. The first thing I noticed about this is it plugs in the name of the app a bit too early, literally on the second paragraph. Then it plugs in the link straight away in the third paragraph. Then it goes on to list all of the features that I thought were interesting or appealed to this audience in this group. Now, the problem with this is people have never heard of this app until now. So people probably aren't as curious about what this app does. They're more interested in understanding the value of what I'm proposing to them straight away. Now let's take this example of language learning, right? So someone is in this group because they probably want to see like a easy to digest link or photo or any infographic or tips being shared on this group. So what I'm saying is there's this feature set that might give you some value, but it's also locked behind this website that I'm marketing to you. So the analogy that I want to give is kind of like playing bingo, and all of the features represent a number being randomly called out, right? And you're hoping that users have the correct bingo card with all the numbers that you call out. And there's going to be a few people who get all the numbers correct, or rather who will understand the value of this website firsthand. So after this feature list, I've got contacts, links to my socials, I've got photos, and the photos are very nice. Like, they're quite colorful, they're quite eye-catching, they communicate the real features on the website, but it doesn't really tell a story, they're just screenshots taken from the website, right? So it's nothing really that profound. So I do firmly believe that this sort of post isn't quite reaching the engagement levels that I would want, even if they weren't deleted by the admins of the group. Because I think this sort of post doesn't obviously communicate the value of what is being marketed here. And I think secondly as well, there's no real human element to it. So with that human element, it's quite important because this is ever present in the strategy used in this next post. So as to why it got removed, I can see why this post comes off as markety or self-promoting. It's a big no-no in most of these communities. Public groups on most social media platforms probably won't tolerate something like this because it's no different to the feel of a generic marketing ad. Right. Hopefully I've done a good enough job to not dox this person in this post. Anyway, let's go through this. So let's cover what this post does quite well. First of all, you can see from the title that it's very different to what I had. It's more of a tutorial, right? And there's not really any obvious mention of the app until probably around line 5. line 5. And the language that's being used is not immediately plugging in the name of the app. It's plugging in SRS, which is like the generic term for the learning method that's widely adopted in the language learning community. So the focus on this post is not really what the app does. It's framed in a 4-step tutorial on how to better use SRS or flashcard apps to improve your language learning retention and to get the most use out of these apps. So I think, in my opinion, the point of this post is quite simple, and its headline sounds like it can possibly only add value. Each step is sequential, very easy for users to follow. Each step clearly communicates some sort of value, and it overall weighs into the cumulative value of the entire post. And very importantly, this poster uses certain language that weaves into their personal experience of using this app. For example, you can see here, right? Step 2, they talk about how every morning they use the app in a certain way to create a schedule for themselves to learn words. And by using their personal experience with the app, it helps build a rapport between the audience and the app, because the users clearly communicated how they've incorporated this app into their personal routine. And to me, that screams beneficial, because if it's working for someone else, it's probably going to work for me, right? So in step 3 is a good example of where this post combines personal experience with the whole each step attains a goal aspect, with demonstrating the features of the app. And I think this poster has done a great job with weaving these elements together and subtly explaining the features of this app. One thing I've noticed as well is the name of this app is actually name dropped quite a lot. I count about 8 times throughout this entire post. The repetition aspect, I think, is also quite important, because it makes it so that the name of the app sticks to the audience's memories. So whenever they see the name Mochi Kanji and they see the topic of this post, which is about SRS apps and how this SRS app is built into this user's routine, that is also going to help build and solidify that rapport. So let's also take a look at this post's photo as well. It has nothing to do with the contents of this post. It's a useful graphic that learners find useful. But remember what I said earlier about how people that participate in this community, they're looking for tips on language learning, right? This is exactly what this photo provides. So actually, I think this is really smart, because I think what's really important in this post is it's cleverly disguised as a tip, a strategy guide, when in fact it's actually a step-to-step guide on how users can follow through to navigate through the app and better understand this feature set. So what would be my recommendation on what kind of marketing post to write for what purpose then? Well, firstly, let's make it clear. You have to differentiate between marketing messages. I'm not saying my post is bad. I'm not saying the other post is really good. They're both good if they're used in the right contexts. My post wasn't quite the correct angle to address this particular kind of community, and as a result it wasn't successfully posted on a lot of these communities because it was more seen as promotional content. My post uses images, encompasses a feature list, why you should use this headline. Like, these are all elements for a full-bodied ad post. So I feel like this would be more suitable for ad campaigns. The 4-step guide post, however, works perfectly for these sort of communities and groups where you're directly communicating with your target audience, where you want to build a rapport between the app and the audience. So such posts are a lot more welcomed because They're disguised to offer additional value to the audience, so they're less viewed as promotional. I hope what I'm saying does help, by the way, and it's not particularly something that's niche to my domain. I mean, if you're building any SaaS and you're thinking about how this is marketed compared to other similar products in your niche, then there must be many common principles that you can take away from this video. Finding topics and themes to base your post content around is the easy part. The difficulty is how you frame that. So I hope you've learned something in today's video. I'm Elvin Speaks. Thank you for listening. Have a great day and I'll see you soon. Bye.